Hello and welcome to today's short video. Today, 3 more teams for the 2023 Motocross of Nations that will be held in Ernee France later this fall have been announced. In this video, I'll break down these teams, their qualifications on being picked, and maybe if they had a comment, I'll include that too. Let's get right into it. For the first team, we have Team South Africa. For the MXGP rider, we have Cameron Durow. Durow is a 6-time South African national champ, and in 2023, he won both the 450 title and 250 title in South Africa, so he's clearly the fastest guy from this country. The Red Bull KTM factory racing athlete actually raced this weekend's Ironman National in the United States and finished 28th overall in the 250 class, so that shows the level difference between these two countries. I think had he raced the 450 class, he might have performed better, but obviously he selected 250, and that class is pretty stacked right now in America, so that shows just how fast they are. For the MX2 class rider, we have the JM Honda athlete Camden McLellan. McLellan has flown a bit under the radar this year, but has really stepped up his game. 2023 is his sophomore year in the MX2 World Championship, and over the past few GPs, he has secured himself as a top 10 regular. His past 2 results in the MXGP were 5th in Finland and 7th in the Netherlands, and earlier this year, he has floated around the top 10 group, so he's for sure an up-and-coming talent, and I think he'll perform pretty well. Finally, for the MX Open class, we have Jesse Wright. Wright is a podium guy in the 450 class, South African Nationals, and races for their factory Yamaha team. How he will match up against the rest of the field is unknown, but it looks like overall, Team South Africa looks to be pretty consistent, which oftentimes helps the overall finish in Motocross of Nations. On to our second team that was announced today, and that is Team Latvia. For the MXGP class, they have none other than their former MX2 champion and current standing construct Honda rider Pauls Jonas. Jonas has had an up-and-down year this year, dealing with injuries and bike setup troubles, but overall, Jonas can be a top 5 guy in the MXGP class, which says a lot because the pace in that class is really high right now. His most recent MXGP finish was 8th overall, but he has been hindered by those injuries, so that doesn't really say much. In my opinion, overall, he can be expected to be a top contender in the GP class at Motocross of Nations. In my opinion, anyway, he is a pretty fast rider. He just needs to heal up. In the MX2 class, we have the current EMX 125 championship leader and 3-time Latvian champion, Ernee France. This young kid has really shown his talent in recent weeks, his most recent finish being 1-1 for first overall in Sweden. This year, this kid has dominated the 125 championship, so he's obviously fast. This kid is definitely going places, and I'm happy to see him represent his nation this fall. Finally, in the MX Open class, we have his brother, Carlos Rasulis, who made the move up to the EMX 250 class this year. Rasulis has been struggling a bit this year. I believe he was dealing with an injury as well, so he is down in points. He's 9th in standings in the EMX 250 class, but in recent weeks he has stepped it up a bit and finished around top 5 for most of the second half of the season, so overall he seems like a solid pick. Now, I don't think Latvia is going to be a top contender by any means, but again, like South Africa, I think if they remain consistent, they can gain that advantage and maybe get within the top 10 around top 5 margin overall. But unlike South Africa, Latvia has 2 really young guys who could make some rookie mistakes or even ride over their heads, so that puts them a bit down in my opinion. So who knows? The final team announced today is Team Switzerland. In the MXGP class, again, we have Jeremy Seewer, as he is by far the top rider from this country. Seewer has been a podium contender in the MXGP class for about 4 years now and currently sits 3rd in the MXGP championship. Jeremy Seewer has also won a couple GPs this year, proving he has the speed to win. In the MX2 class, we have Valentin Giad. Giad has had a couple rough years, but in 2023, he has kind of revitalized himself. The Moto Blues Honda rider has now pushed himself back into being a top 10 guy in the MXGP championship and currently sits 9th in standings. All year, he's been kind of finishing around that top 10 position, so he's doing pretty good. Finally, in the MX Open class, we have Arnaud Tonus. Tonus switched his focus to the Swiss Championship this year from MXGP, and he was just crowned the Swiss National Champion, so obviously that went well for him. Now, Giad and Tonus are not set in stone yet, as they aren't sure which class they're going to race. I labeled it as they announced it, but they did say that it's up in the air. Tonus and Giad may switch classes, so either way, it still looks to be a strong top 10 team for this year's Motocross of Nations. I also did want to mention, because people keep blowing up the comments over it, Team Australia and Team USA are not confirmed at the moment. With that being said, I'm not going to mention them in my videos until they're confirmed. I'm not in the business of predicting or having an opinion on things that aren't confirmed yet, so I will bring up those teams once they are announced. Well, that's all I have for today's video. 3 more teams announced for Motocross of Nations. Hopefully those teams I just mentioned will be announced soon, but thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in the next Motocross of Nations news release video.